today's video, I'll be talking about Sick from 2022, a COVID horror slasher movie that did not work out for me at all. In my podcast with Wolfman Sam, I mentioned this movie, link in the description. It was written by Kevin Williamson, who you all might know as the writer who wrote the Scream movies, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and The Faculty. He also wrote a movie called The Curse that was directed by Wes Craven, but it wasn't that good of a movie. It was directed by John Hyam, who was the son of film director Peter Hyam, who directed the 90s action sci-fi movie Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's a cool, awesome action 90s movie. If anyone remembers that movie, I wish I was talking about that movie instead of this piece of shit garbage. Like any event in history, someone was already thinking of a movie about COVID, but I would not say this is the first COVID movie. Honestly, I'm not sure what the first COVID movie is, to be honest. Leave a comment on that for me. This movie was not released in any movie theaters. It was only shown at film festivals, and didn't have a marketing when this movie came out. It was released on Peacock. My first hearing of this movie was from Cody Leach because he saw it at some film festival. This is something I've never mentioned before in the past. It's a little personal, but I'm sure I should not be ashamed of admitting this. When this movie came out in late 2022, the worst timing, I had COVID at the time despite I was fully vaccinated and boosted up. But thankfully it's not a serious case of COVID. At the time when I had COVID, I thought to myself, if I had this virus in 2020, when there was no medicine or vaccine available, who knows if I would still be alive today. It was too soon for me to watch this movie. I didn't need to watch a movie on COVID at the time. I lived through and had the COVID virus. It was the worst cold of my life. I had cold chills, my joints were achy, I lost smell, but I did not lose taste, but because I was sick, I did not feel hungry or have much of an appetite. The weird part was I had a regular temperature. My temperature was not even over 100 degrees. It's true they say everyone responded different to COVID. After recovering from COVID, I felt drained, tired, and fatigued. After having COVID basically sucked the life out of me. The opening scene captures the horrific event that happened not that long ago, when we had to wear masks, social distance, there was no toilet paper in the grocery stores, we had to walk in a certain direction, or one person came in the store at a time, wiped down everything we bought in the store or something online, using hand sanitizer after leaving the store, washing our hands when we got home from coming from the grocery store. These were Dr. Fauci's suggestions on how to survive the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. Despite he did a good job capturing that moment, I get the social commentary on the coronavirus pandemic, but it was hard for me to sit through because, like a lot of us, people like me lived through this horrific event 4 years ago. It was not an escapism movie, it's a movie that reminds you of reality. In the words of Grandpa Munster, I go to the movies for escapism, not being reminded of reality. That's the kind of person I am with the movies. When people were waiting in line at the store, socially distancing, one of the customers was sneezing behind them, and they looked back at her, giving her that look of suspicion that she might be sick. Seeing this part reminded me when I had to go out in public to the grocery store wearing a mask during the pandemic. When I felt that urge to sneeze, I did my best to hold it in. I'm thinking to myself, is there a phobia of sneezing? I'm also thinking to myself, I become sneezophobia. The random character with no name who gets killed by the killer felt like the opening to Scream, but in COVID slasher style. The character part was a bitch with an ego, thinking she does not have COVID. At this time, a lot of young teenagers had egos, thinking they were invincible, thinking they were not going to get COVID if they had no sign or symptoms. I'm not a medical doctor, but I understand at that time some people tested positive for COVID, even if they had no sign or symptoms, were asymptomatic. That means they were at a risk of getting the virus in only a matter of time. I remember some Yankee baseball players tested positive for COVID, had no sign or symptoms of the virus. She has no feelings toward her ex-boyfriend. I don't give a shit about her love life. She has no remorse. She was a whore. She does not care about any romantic feelings. She does not like love. She's afraid of affection. And she's the kind of girl who does not want that. Story of my life at the same time. Thank God my ex broke up with me. Watching this scene reminded me a little bit when I broke with my ex-girlfriend pre-COVID though. When Parker's on the raft on the lake, I'm thinking to myself, Creepshow 2, but mine is the alien blob. Tell me, Rose, is kill the bitch still a tradition? Parker's best friend was boring, not interesting, the same with whatever complicated relationship she had with this guy. As usual, in a lot of cliche slasher horror movies, they make a lot of dumb, stupid mistakes to survive. I'm not going to say what happens. Go watch the movie and see for yourself. When Parker tries to escape and run away from the killer, the woman would not let her in the car unless she had a mask on. Spoiler alert right here. As it turns out, the woman in the car is involved in the killer's wife. It's a very cliche twist who done it, and I've seen this done better. The first Friday the 13th movie, Psycho, Dressed to Kill, and the first Scream movie. Watch this and like, yeah, this woman in the car is connected to the killer somehow. Very predictable. The killer's motive for wanting to kill Parker was because she posted on Instagram a COVID party video and kissed their son, and he died from COVID a few years later. The killer's motive was somewhat understandable, but honestly, I did not care to find it convincing. I was not into it or drawn to it. Their motive did not do anything for me. When the killers reveal who they are, again, it felt like Scream, explaining their motives. When they wrapped the bag around Parker's face, I'm thinking Black Christmas, which is a much better movie. I wish I was talking about that movie instead of this. She claims she did not have COVID, but the killers tested her, and she had COVID. Gee, no way, no kidding. Jane Adams plays one of the killers who's had a long acting career. I never imagined her in a slasher horror movie. I feel like she was miscast for this movie. When she gets burned on fire, did you ever hear her stop, drop, and roll? For a killer, she was not too bright. After Parker kills the killers, the police arrive. The end. My question is, would Parker and her friend have gotten arrested for not wearing a mask or social distance? But who cares? And I pray to God no sequel to this piece of shit garbage is ever made. One is enough. How this idea could have worked in the podcast I did with my friend Wolfman Sam, we agreed on how a movie like this COVID concept as a horror movie could have worked as a psychological horror movie, where you had someone lose a loved one, or maybe a friend or relative who died from COVID. After losing someone close to them, they isolate, quarantine, and they feel worried, scared, not knowing they'll get COVID or not. If this idea is ever made or used, me and my friend Wolfman Sam want residuals. This is a movie that was a waste of my time, where I could have been watching other better movies on a pandemic, Night of the Living Dead, The Last Man on Earth, and 28 Days Later. Or heck, I could have been wasting my time watching reruns of The Munsters, Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein, or Scooby-Doo cartoons with better twist endings of who was behind that mask. Whether you like Scream or not, I'd rather watch Scream over this movie. At least Scream has some entertainment value to it. I've also seen better horror movies done better than Cabin in the Woods isolation style, The Evil Dead, Misery, and Pumpkinhead. Another better movie about a pandemic. This is not a horror movie, but it might as well be. The 2011 Steven Soderbergh Contagion. This movie scared and freaked me out more than this movie. I needed a mental break after watching this movie. It aged well and got better reception, had an audience when COVID got bad. Not that this film did badly when it first came out, it did not have a voice yet until COVID. People look back to this movie and think, oh my god, this movie was way ahead of its time, predicted the pandemic was coming. I was a senior in high school when this movie came out. I only saw parts of it on television. I turned on because I could not stomach the movie, and I asked myself, what are the chances of this happening in real life? Little did I know what to expect 9 years later at that time. As I said before, this is the kind of movie that shoves in your face of being reminded of reality instead of escaping reality. This is also the kind of movie I would never rewatch ever again, never add it to my Blu-ray collection. Watch this movie made me feel sick, how stupid, dumb, shitty, crappy, and horrible this movie was. I will say, despite not liking this movie, I will agree, this one is definitely a mixed bag. Some people like this movie, but I don't fit in that category. If you had COVID before in the past, you won't like this movie, especially if someone had a bad experience dealing with a severe case of COVID, if you had a certain medical condition or being at a high risk for getting the virus. I'm just glad quarantine is over and the pandemic is over and I have to watch this garbage during the pandemic when we all had to quarantine during lockdown.